Aquí tengo que abrir el video, pero... Welcome to the 10th Symposium on Hotel and Human Development. Thank you for joining us for this amazing event. We're happy to connect with you and to learn together to overcome any obstacles of this reality we are having. Together, we have with us Lourdes Hainlin. She's going to present the more things changes, the more certain things remain the same. Mrs. Lourdes Hainlin, a talented and experienced hotel development professional, joined Forbes Travel Guide in 2014 to lead the expansion of the luxury star rating system in the Caribbean, Mexico, Central America, and South America. They unveiled the region's first group of star-rated properties in 2015 and continue through today. Lourdes Hainlin is a vice president of Partner Services Forbes Travel Guide. Mrs. Hainlin was born in Cuba and immigrated with her family to New York at an early age. Her family eventually moved to Miami, where she developed her passion for the hospitality industry. She's a graduate of Florida International University, and Ms. Hainlin resides in Miami, Florida, with her husband and 6 children.
Thank you. That was a wonderful introduction. Buenos días a todos. Gracias por la oportunidad de estar aquí con ustedes. Quisiera estar en Los Cabos en vez de Miami, pero bueno, tenemos que hacer lo mejor posible. So thank you. First of all, welcome to your 10th symposium. That's a long time you've been doing this. How wonderful for you and for your members and for the properties. Obviously, Los Cabos has always been the leader in service, in innovation, and an example to the rest of the hospitality industry globally. So it is my pleasure to be here representing Forbes Travel Guide, whom I have worked for since 2014. And as you heard in the bio, I had the pleasure of bringing our star rating system for the first time to these regions, but especially to Mexico. Los Cabos was actually in our first year. We had to delay it because you had a little storm back in, I think, 15, 16. And but has always been the leader as far as memorable travel experiences. And we're very proud of what you have done, and especially in the last 2 years. So I commend you, I congratulate you, and it is an honor to be here with you. So I'm going to do a little refresher on Forbes Travel Guide. Some of you know me very well. Some of you know our company very well. But I think it's always good to just get a refresher. So we are the only global independent rating system for the luxury hospitality industry. And when we say luxury, luxury comes in different colors, in different shapes. It could be a barefoot luxury, it could be an eco luxury, it could be the traditional luxury, lifestyle, independence, brands. Luxury comes again in different colors, in different tastes. But what it does define is a certain way you make guests feel and how you treat them. Whatever your branding is, whatever your design elements are, it is the way you make them feel, the way you treat them. Service is very important. Obviously, facility is too, but we will talk a little bit about that later. We are the only independent global rating system, but we're also the second oldest. We were established in 1958. In the United States as Mobil Travel Guide. Mobil, the petroleum company, decided that they were going to do a community service to the American market and started printing guides of where to stay, where to eat, to go along with the driving that Americans love to do, especially United States. So it was Mobil Travel Guide in 1958. And in 2007, Mobil decided that they did not want to do this anymore. Their company was changing. And they converted. We were purchased by a group of investors. And we converted and aligned ourselves with Forbes magazine, Forbes media. We are an independent company. We're not a media company. You can't buy advertising from us. And that's very important because our ratings are independent. You cannot buy a star rating. At the same time that we converted to Forbes, we also eliminated the 1, 2, and 3-star levels. Now, there are other companies out there, AAA, one of them that I know you're all very familiar with, good company, came in a lot later than us, almost a decade or longer after us. But they still do, the 1 diamond through the 5 diamond, which is very nice. We wanted to focus on the upper upscale and luxury. So upscale, upper upscale, and luxury. And the reason we thought that was important is because no one else was doing it. So we wanted, and there's so much of that product out there, we wanted to make sure that they got the attention that they deserve. So that's what we do today. We have 3 levels: recommended by Forbes Travel Guide, 4-star by Forbes Travel Guide, and 5-star by Forbes Travel Guide. All of them are important. All of them are difficult to achieve. You have to be a high-performing property to get to the recommended. 4-star to us is almost like being in the Olympics and being a great athlete and making the Olympics and gaining a gold star. That would be a 4-star rating for us. Recommended is like making the Olympics. And 5-star would be someone exceptional, like a Michael Phelps, if you ever know who he is. He's the swimmer who's won, 20-something gold stars. So it's just a little bit above, and really, we'll talk about what the difference is in a few minutes. So that is who we are today. We are still independent. We are now more global than ever because we have expanded into all the markets that we were not even 7 years ago. We're all in the major markets, obviously all across Mexico, and especially Los Cabos. And you will see that we have properties represented in all 3 levels across all these global markets. So everything we do, we used to do the old-fashioned way. We used to print guides. Today, everything could be found on ForbesTravelGuide.com. You will find there are rated hotels, spas, and restaurants. Now, something about restaurants I want to remind all of you, because I get asked this question all the time. We don't have any rated restaurants in Mexico, Los Cabos. We don't have it in most international markets. We actually stopped expanding our restaurants outside of the North American market and a few international, because we're trying to really understand it better, do it better. There is a company out there called Michelin, which I'm sure you're familiar with. They're actually older than us. They do it very well, rating and evaluating restaurants, and we want to be as good. So we're taking a little pause on expanding outside of North America, but with the cuisine that is available and featured and the innovation on that field in Mexico, we should be doing that very soon in the next couple of years. But if you want to know anything about us, if you want to plan your own travel, go to ForbesTravelGuide.com. I think you'll enjoy it. Go exploring. You could slice it and dice it. There's everything from the brands all bundled together to independent destination hotels by theme, whether it's an all-inclusive property or a golf resort or a beach resort, you'll find it all there. So I hope you visit. Now, obviously, we're known for our star rating system. So let's talk a little bit about that and kind of get that out of the way. These are the results from this year. So we always evaluate hotels in the previous year and then announce the following year. So the 2021 star ratings globally, as they stand right now, are here. That means we evaluated hotels in 2020. Now, obviously, a lot of things started shutting down March, April of 2020. So we did have to stop and pause many ratings. So a lot of these are actually from the 2019 evaluations that were announced in 2020. But they're still highly deserving. They did not get to celebrate for very long, these high achievers. So we were very happy to extend it through 21. Right now, we are going through the process of evaluating hotels, restaurants, and spas. And then we will announce in 22 the new star ratings. And you can see where we are now. And they're pretty small numbers. If you think about it, just think of how many hotels there are in Los Cabos alone. If you count everything that there is there, I don't know, 100, 200, maybe 100. I would say probably 100 plus. And yet, when you look at our hotel ratings globally, today we are in 73 countries, not 73 cities, not Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, Los Cabos, no, 73 countries. So Mexico counts as one in this count. 5 stars, 283 only. 4 stars, 576. Recommended, 438. These are small numbers. Same thing with the restaurants, same thing with the spas. Now, you will notice that there are no recommended spas. The reason is we selected to not have that category in spas. Why? It is a very compact space. The standards there's not a lot of standards. So we expect that a spa with a more controlled environment should be able to function at a very high level. So we only have 4-star and 5-star ratings for spas. You can also see, since I joined in 14, in 15, we were, for the announcement in 15, we were at 6 countries. For the announcement in 16, we were at 15 countries. And then it goes on and it gets to 73 today. A lot of the 15 and 16 are Mexico hotels, just so you know. And of course, we continued 17, 18, even to this day, we're still introducing new hotels. Now, we have over 900 standards if we were to evaluate a hotel, a restaurant, and a spa. Hotel alone is about 500 plus standards. Restaurant is about 200 plus, spa is about 200 plus. Now, when many of you have had access to our standards or have them, if you ever want them, even if you're not a rated property or if you're not a partner, I would be happy to share our standards with you because it's something that we want you to aspire to. And all we are doing is sharing the rules of the game. You still have to know how to play the game. You still have to deliver a great experience. So it is my pleasure to share those if anybody does want. Now, when you see our standards, you'll notice that all 500 plus for the hotel are divided into 3 ways, really. Classifications, the standards, the same standard can fall under cleanliness and condition, or it could be part of the in-room dining standards. It could be under graciousness, thoughtfulness, or it could also actually be, turn down service. So it's the same standard, but it's grouped differently. This is important for you so you could see how you're doing across certain areas, specifically, and certain classifications. Now, we have kept, even after 2020 and into 21, our standards are still approximately, when we do the scoring, it's usually approximately 75% service, 25% facility. Why is that? 25% facility is by the time a property is selected for a rating, we expect it to be a beautiful facility. Different design, different look, different feel, different destination. But we expect the facility to be highly clean. Cleanliness has now become even more important than ever because that's what the guests are looking for. They were always looking for it, but now they're looking more and they know what to look for. So the facility is important, the way it looks, the way it functions, the cleanliness. But what makes the difference in the 3 categories of what we look for is the service. How do you make the guests feel? How do you treat them? So our high focus is that. And so we also know that a lot of the service element is about the human factor, exactly what you are specializing in, the human experience. Your staff experiencing or interacting with the guest. So that is a lot more difficult to deliver, and that's why we make it so important. Our standards are evaluated annually. So for example, this year, we introduced sustainability standards. It's the first time we introduce it. Next year, for 22, for the 23 announcement, that area will actually increase further. But simple things like in the last, 10 years, we all know that newspapers used to be very, very important 7 years ago, 10 years ago. That was a standard that we had, that the delivery of that you should have newspapers in-house, how they were delivered to the room. Well, as the years went by, that is no longer a relevant standard. So a few years back, we removed it. We added digital communications a few years back because now you're talking to the guest via WhatsApp, via text, via so many things. So we added a new section. So every year we look at them and we make sure that they are reflective of today's traveler. The philosophy and the application of a standard is applied with the guest experience in mind. We do not look at an inspection of your hotel by the standards of an inspector. We look at it, I am the guest. The inspector is the guest. And even when we do an inspection and we publish it and we share it with our clients, hotels, they will see that it says the guest experienced this. Our interpretations of the standards are rigid, but we also understand cultural nuances. We understand the difference in destinations, things like that. So our inspectors are trained to accept that, actually celebrate it, because we love personality. We love when every hotel is different. But there are certain things that don't change, right? We're talking about some things stay the same no matter what happens. Our inspectors are trained meticulously in their reporting and how they capture the spirit and the personality of the property. That is very important to us. So far, we've talked a lot about Forbes Travel Guide, and I think this is important because for you to understand why we think that even though things have changed a lot, the way we dress, the things we use now, the way we gather, some things, service especially, they just don't change. They stay the same. So when we're looking at service, we're looking at experiences. Experiences don't change. So maybe this time they have to, take certain precautions, but the experience should still be special and memorable. So we look at experiences, not departments. When you look at our standards, we look at the arrival experience. We look at the departure experience. We look at the pool and beach experience. So in an arrival experience, you have from maybe the car that picks you up at the airport, to the doorman that waits for you at the property and welcomes you, to the reception desk that checks you in, to the bellman that brings you to the room. That is one whole arrival experience, and they are all tied together. That's how you make the guest feel. How was their arrival? So that's what we look for. We focus on quality, not just quality of material things. So when all of you are different, you have different designs. But at the end of the day, whatever that design is, whatever the towel is, whatever the color of the sofa is, whatever, it still has to have high quality. And we look for consistency. That is a magic word. That word has not changed and will never change. Consistency of service, being able to do great service over and over and over. Very hard. And with every guest, every day with every guest. And at the same time, we want you to show your personality. So if we are in Los Cabos, we want Los Cabos personality to come through. We love for you to say buenos dias and gracias. There's certain things that are just you as a destination, as a country, as a culture, but then there's also the personality of the property that you've already identified, developed, and adapted. So we want to see that too. So those are hard things to combine: experience, quality, consistency, and we want to see genuine personality come through. And then, of course, we talked about the facility. Cleanliness and condition is top notch now. Elements of luxury. Remember, we're looking at upscale, upper upscale, and luxury. Now, even if you are a mid-scale property or maybe even a limited service property, you have certain things that are luxurious, but whatever those may be, only you know that. But with elements of luxury, a lot of you may think it's all about the product. Am I doing a beautiful turn down amenity, or do I get champagne upon arrival in a still cut glass? Those are elements of luxury, but also how you treat a guest. If I go to the concierge and I ask them to arrange for a tour or an experience or an excursion, does that concierge go above and beyond? Once they book, first of all, they should ask me what kind of experience I want. They should try to understand me. They should also anticipate my needs. Have you arranged for transportation there? It's going to be a very warm day. I suggest it's going to be very sunny. Make sure you bring protection. Bring some water. There's no place to have lunch, so maybe we could pack a lunch for you. Those are elements of luxury. When you go above and beyond for the guests, when you remember their name, that is a luxurious thing that doesn't happen in every property. That's an element of luxury in many ways. And of course, we always want the guests to be comfortable in how you make them feel, comfortable in their surroundings, comfortable in their bed, comfortable as they take a shower. All that is important. And convenience. What is a great example of convenience is I always carry 2 phones and a laptop with me wherever I go. I want my plugs for my technology to be convenient. I don't want to have to move a piece of furniture. I want it to be easily accessible. I want Wi-Fi to work. I want a good table that can be maybe used for my in-room dining, but can also be used for my laptop to go. So convenience is very important. Other things that are convenient is, how do I get from my room to the front desk or to the reception or this? Is it convenient? Are you making it easy? So think about all these things. When you leave in-room dining in my room, did you put it in a table that was comfortable, that had a good chair next to it? So everything you do in the hotel, you have to look at these things: cleanliness and condition, elements of luxury, guest comfort and convenience. Those things never, ever change. So what is still the same? A memorable experience. We keep talking about that because you have protocols that you have to follow, whether it's wearing a mask, keeping your distance. Maybe you can no longer hug or kiss the guests. Although that's changing a little bit. We're kind of getting back to whatever normal is. And it's different for everybody, every property, every destination. It does differ. And it's also the guests. How do they, what do they want? What do they want to do? Do they want to still hug you, or do they want to keep their distance? Do they want someone going into the room to be cleaned, or do they want someone to come in when they're not there? All these things have changed. You're right. They've become very difficult. But what has not changed? A memorable experience. How do you get that? Genuine, warm, personable, natural, effortless. Those are key words. When you are telling a guest, what are the protocols on property? You must wear a mask, or this or that, whatever the protocols is, because they change daily. In a way you say, what is the constant is now change. Things change depending on if there's a spike, if there's a new, plus or a new version of the pandemic. That you have to adapt, but you still have to keep in there the way you treat the guests has to be genuine. It has to be natural, even more than ever, because maybe you don't have the opportunity to touch them, to shake their hand, whatever that may be. So now how you treat them is very important. You have to be welcoming always. But the wonderful thing about Mexico and Los Cabos especially is that you don't have a problem with this. These are things we're looking for globally, but on your level, there may be exceptions. Someone may be having a bad day and not being welcoming and attentive, but that is very rare. It is in your you're just welcoming culture, and very polite, very courteous, very caring. But there is a line when you are welcoming and attentive, and we see it a lot, especially in certain properties, in certain cultures, Caribbean more than anything, where you want to be welcoming, you want to be warm, but you have to still allow for privacy and relaxation. And you have to train your staff to understand that there is a fine line. If the guest is being quiet and is answering back in very short responses, they obviously want to be left alone. You need to be hovering around somewhere and be ready for their needs, but you have to give them the privacy. If the guest is feeling a little more chatty and they're kind of raising conversation, so you have to train your staff on how to read the guests. That's part of training. It's not something that comes natural. Some people it comes natural, but it can be trained too. So you have to tell your staff they know how to do their job. That's very, very important, because if a staff member knows how to do their job really well, then they can make room for things like reading the guest, making sure that they tailor their behavior to the guest's comfort. If they are struggling to know their job, then they cannot even think about being welcoming and attentive and, reading the guests. So first and foremost, make sure your staff members know what they're supposed to do and do it well. So then they can relax, feel confident that they can allow for these other things that guests are looking for, we're looking for on behalf of the guests, to do. They're not distracted with just knowing how to do a check-in or how to do a room orientation. You have to practice everything, train them on everything. And you have to do this consistently. They have to do this consistently. So to do something consistently, you have to do a lot of practice. And then at the end of the day, a simple little way to know how to treat your guests is don't make them work too hard. Don't make them think too hard. They're at your property to relax. It's so difficult to travel nowadays, more difficult than ever. And it was always a little difficult. Don't make them think too hard. Don't give them too many questions. Options are good, but don't make them have to tell you everything. Something interesting about Mexico is, and not just Mexico, but other countries too, they always ask you about allergies. They'll ask you at the front desk, they'll ask you at the bar, they'll ask you at this restaurant, then you go to another restaurant, they ask me the same question. That is something it gets funny after a while, but then it gets annoying. Questions should be asked once, maybe twice if you didn't get it the first time, across the property. If a guest is asked, this type of question over and over, it makes them work too hard at it. And you have to think of everything that you do, that the guest is there to do, whether it's getting a chair by the pool or, an umbrella by the beach. It has to be made easy. Don't make them work too hard. They already have to work too hard. They're kind of used to it already because of the new protocols and everything. So wherever you can cut a step or you can make it just a little easier, don't take the excuse, which is very common nowadays. It's because of COVID. You have to do this because of COVID. Oh, we don't do that anymore because of COVID. So now you're inconveniencing the guest. If it is an inconvenience, if it is something that adds work to the guest, try to find ways to make it as least painful as possible, or find other ways to ease their burden. So what we're going to go through now is we're going to go through all the departments. And the reason I want to do this is because you will see in this, and at the end of our chat, and I better keep an eye out here. I think the team better tell me when it's time to stop. I think they could speak over me if they need to. I'd like to allow about 15 minutes at the end for you to tell me at the end if any of these things that we are looking for still today are not possible, are impossible. Let's go with first impossible. We can never do that. Now, a reservation agent is usually not in person. It's usually over the phone. Now, most reservations nowadays are being done electronically. We recognize that. We've written standards around it. But just for this purpose of this, is there anything a reservation agent should change other than explaining all the protocols clearly? What are the expectations, especially around housekeeping, mask wearing, anything like that? Very important that you tell the guests if there won't be daily housekeeping, which I think most of you do provide it already. You need to tell them before they get there so they could be understanding. They will know what to expect. Or if the instruction is that they have to call for housekeeping, this starts at the reservation. So in other words, anything that you see here, I don't think any of this has changed. You still have to listen to the guests. Even if they're doing a digital reservation, you have to read their requests. They put in requests. If they have special requests, you have to read them. You have to share them with the different departments. And something that when you are striving to go above and beyond, anticipatory service is where you really could make the difference. If the guest wants to make a spa or dinner reservation or transfers from the airport, that obviously can be done at reservation. But isn't it wonderful if upon check-in, the reception desk says, Miss Hainlin, I see that you made a reservation at the spa. We're expecting you tomorrow at 2. How wonderful. Any questions, please ask or call us or, prepare for it. Or we see that you're doing dinner at our specialty restaurant, blah, blah, blah. That's a wonderful thing to receive upon check-in because now you're easing their mind. Now they don't have to get to the room, immediately confirm their spa and dinner and all that because you've just done it for them. Now they can relax. That's taking work away from them. They don't have to think too hard. So I don't think there's anything there that you would change. Arrival service. Staff exhibits a warm graciousness and welcoming behavior. That I know is more difficult now if you're wearing a mask or if you can't get close to them, you can't shake their hand. But I think you've had a lot of practice by now, and you have to find ways to do this. Demonstrating anticipatory service has nothing to do with protocols. Again, if they forgot their toothpaste and they call housekeeping or reception for their toothpaste, wouldn't it be nice to say, by the way, is there anything else? Did you bring toothbrush? You need an extra toothbrush? How's your shampoo? Is there anything else you may have forgotten? If not, please call back and we will be happy to accommodate. So anticipatory service has not changed. Orientation of the hotel and guest room should still be brief, succinct, and informative. Now, some of you, I don't think in Los Cabos, any of you are not doing room orientation. I think you are. There are many parts of the world that are still not doing it. But if you're doing it, it should still be succinct. Don't tell me where my toilet is. Tell me that, do you know how to work the Nespresso? And I say, no, I don't. You show me. Do you show them how to work the Apple TV, which is super complicated? So don't show me the obvious. Don't tell me my hangers. Show me the things. If your bathtub is hard and the shower is hard to function or it has something special about it, show me those things. Be formal and familiarity, both, and especially in a destination like Los Cabos. People are there to relax. They kind of let their hair down, but there's still a formality. They're still the guests. You don't want to sound too stiff, but you want to sound warm, but you still know they are the guests. They're not your best friend. They're not your family. And that's something important for the staff to know. Utilizing guest name. That hasn't changed. It's even more important than ever. Departure service. A lot of people think, arrival's the most important, but you know what? Departure's even more important because that's where your repeat guest comes in. So you're doing the same thing as they're going out the door. All those wonderful things that you did, a warm welcome, a warm farewell, have a safe journey, invite them back. Think of things like, do you have your passports with you? You may have put them in the safe. What about all your cords for your phones? Did you check? You have them all? Little thoughtful things like that. Any one of the departure, whether it's the bellman, whether it's reception, whether it's the doorman, whether it's the transfer, can do these things. Guest services. Obviously, guest services does a lot of things at a resort for the guests. Now, the guest nowadays is very experienced. They know a lot of things they want to do. So guest services has to be above and beyond. They have to now, maybe they want to go to a park, one of the experience parks that's in Cancun, Los Cabos. They want to go sailing or they want to go do something different. You need to know what is special about that or why this one instead of that one. So guest service is very important. And that's where anticipatory service, They want to go to a special restaurant. Oh, that's a formal restaurant. They'll require a jacket. Oh, that's a very casual restaurant. Oh, maybe your children would not be as comfortable there. This tends to be more adults. Why don't we look for a different place? So anticipatory service has not changed. Fitness facility, maybe there is some change there, a lot more Germex, a lot more wipes, but there still needs to be great equipment. There still needs to be somebody coming around often to make sure that the guest is safe and that they have everything they need, and cleanliness and hygiene. Same thing with public areas. Now, one thing that has changed is we used to be in our hotels, we used to be very discreet about our cleanliness. We were quiet. We kind of disappear as we clean the physical spaces. Today, we make it a little more obvious. We want them to see us cleaning. We want to keep a person constantly wiping down the elevators and the staircases, anywhere that they're touching. That is a change that is significant. But cleanliness is still, condition is still the way you comport yourselves. And when we're in public spaces, and guests too, we're looking at how the staff comports themselves. How do they treat each other? They start on. If they're not in the back of the house, they're in front of the house. If you're in a public space, you should not be talking on the phone on a personal conversation. You should not be talking about last night's party with your colleague as you're walking down the hallway and a guest is passing you. None of that has changed. Cleanliness, lots more and more obvious. There is a change that you have noticed. We talked about guest requests. Even more important now, if they request something, that you put it into a bag that looks sanitary, that they don't have to touch. It doesn't have to go hand to hand. A lot of that has gone away. That has changed, but that's actually something we always ask for. If you're going to bring me a toothbrush or extra shampoo, we ask that it be presented in an attractive manner, in a baggie, on a tray, in a plastic bag. So that's actually something that has not changed for us, but for many of you, now you understand more why it's necessary. Housekeeping, there are changes there in how it is done. Does the guest request it upon check-in? Are you doing it automatically every day? Are you not? There are a lot of options now around housekeeping and turn down service. But whatever your options are, the most important thing you do is that you have to do it consistently. You have to be very clear on what those are about to the guest. Do they need to call and request it? Does it happen automatically? Does the guest, some of them are still very sensitive. And they said, I want to be out of my room when you are here, when housekeeping is here. So communication is crucial, but cleanliness, replenishment, leaving things as perfect as possible. Something we get a lot nowadays is, well, we don't want to touch the personal items of the guest. Well, you touch the towels, you touch the sheets, you touch the door, you touch the amenities you put in the room. That, you have to think about that. Now, maybe a guest doesn't want it and you're not over touching, but if a pair of shoes left in the hallway, you could still put those shoes, line them up correctly and put them on the side. Not hang him, not put him in the closet. That's not our standard. But there's no reason why you can't touch those shoes. You're touching everything else in the room. So think about that a little bit and what you're doing in your hotel and make sure it makes sense. There have been changes, but cleanliness, condition, making a room attractive, and then turn down service. We always call it the magic of turning a room from day to night. That's still there. We still want the room to look beautiful for evening, welcoming, relaxing. How are you doing that? What are the changes? It still should look perfect. How you go about it may be the change, and how often you do it. And if you do it, those are the questions that you need to ask for yourself. Majority of the North America market is doing full turn down and housekeeping daily. Exceptions, some brands are not. But I think it's moving more and more in that direction, especially with the kind of rates that the hotels that are open and enjoying very high occupancy are charging. I think you need to think about the service you're giving them, and just think about it for your property and how that is necessary. Guest room conditions, obviously we're looking for cleanliness. Again, huge. It's just come up to the top of the list. But convenience, comfort. A lot of you have removed things from the room, extra pillows or throws or things like that, or magazines. That's okay. We were kind of going in that direction anyways, so it's not making a difference. It doesn't mean that your sheets should not still be of the best quality, your towels, it should still be beautifully decorated, there should be convenient plugs, lighting, TV should work. So none of that has changed. Dining, there's a lot of changes around dining. Buffets, I think, have come back fully in Mexico City. Maybe it's more a little bit of self-serve and serve function. The menus. So we're still looking for a diverse menu. We're still looking for presentation and quality of food. That has not changed. Consistent, helpful, attentive service without being overly familiar, reading the guests, the timeliness of beverage and food service, very important, the sequencing, all of that. You may have some physical changes in the restaurant. Maybe the tables are further apart, but as far as the service and experience, that cannot change. Same thing with the bar. Maybe the high quality snacks, instead of being bigger, maybe they're more self-service. Maybe now you give each guest a little set of snacks. I know that for a while, a lot of people were using more disposable ware, but linen napkins can be washed, and we're fine. We're still looking for the finest quality. Now, if you have, Mexico is known for their artisan. They have wonderful pottery and china and things like that. We're looking for high quality, but if your property has a particular design or an element of design that includes more rustic wear, that's fine. It just has to be in great condition, clean, and still high quality in whatever the style it is. In-room dining, in-room dining is back, and the guests are almost wanting to eat in the rooms more than going to restaurants. Some of them just want to be in their rooms. We always say at Forbes Travel Guide, that in-room dining is the most expensive restaurant in the house. Why? Because first you have to pay for your room, and it's not cheap. So you need to pay for your room, and then you need to order your food and beverage. So they need to get great service. It should still have, a beautiful setting. It should still have beautiful cutlery and china and glassware. The table should be set nicely, should be convenient. We always recommend to hotels, practice in-room dining service with your servers. Make sure that every room type you have in the hotel, they know where is the best place to put the tray. Or that's not possible, what is the next best place to put the tray? And if the guest has stuff on it, how do they remove those things? Some things that a lot of people don't train on is the comfort of setting up a room and in-room dining. Many of you are doing, I think Mexico is pretty much open to in-room dining, and so is the US. We still look for great presentation, great tasting food hot, cold food cold. Maybe some protocols, but I think it's time to look at that area. So those are I went through the departments and what we look for, and I asked you to please think about how things have changed and things have remained the same. My question to you, and if you could at the end, any of you who could want to contribute and be succinct so we could know, is there anything in what I just showed you that we're still looking for today for our ratings that you cannot do, that you absolutely object to, it's not possible because of protocols? So that was my question. We kind of went through the departments. Now, I've mentioned throughout that the most important thing you could do is, I say, practice, role play with your staff. From the beach, how to sit down a guest, how to put the towel, how to make them comfortable, in-room dining, the beverage, all of it, especially nowadays, if you have changed certain processes because of protocols, health protocols, have you practiced those? And the reason it's important for them to role play is because every guest is a little different. And remember what I said, they need to know their job confidently and well, so then they could do the above and beyond that makes your guest experience memorable. So you need to do role play. You need to ask the questions. What are life scenarios with your team members? What is the approach? No pressure, learning. You need to teach them in a fun way. Slang is something we object to. We don't want people to use okay, no problem. But at the same time, we don't want your staff to feel you should not want your staff to feel unnatural using unnatural words. So when you're looking at slang or when you're training your staff members, think of what is the most natural. What are words that are natural to them? Let them choose the words that are best. Instead of no problem, what word will you use, staff member? Would it be absolutely, immediately? What is the word that they would? So when you're training, when you're role playing, make it natural, make it fun. It should be wanting to learn, wanting to do, not high pressure. And then measure that they learn it. Test them. Again, not high pressure, not you're going to lose your job if you don't do this perfectly. Maybe you need more practice. Some people need more practice than others. That's kind of the approach we have to learning. All right, excuse me one moment. I have to make sure that we don't lose battery during this presentation. Another thing that I want to leave you with is best practices in read, experience, see, hear. Communication is crucial, not just with the guests. That's super important, but internally. What is the best way to do that? Pre-shifts. Pre-shifts are so important. That's where you talk about the guests. That's where you talk about your occupancy. That's where you introduce a standard of the day, a standard of the week. What are we working on this day? Or what are we working on this week or this month? Guest name usage. That is a huge one. Very important, needs lots of practice, something you should do. So pre-shifts or meetings, all of those allow you to practice the standards, incorporate service standards in them, and get feedback and do your own mini audits. You don't need to wait for us to get there. Do your own audits. And a guest, it could be it could be one of your staff members. It doesn't even have to be quality control or human resources. It could be someone from the team. They would enjoy it. You trust them. It could be a fun thing. And every once in a while, it's okay if you certify them. Say, okay, this month we're going to do this type of training and you're going to get a certification for it. It shouldn't be empty. It should be important. We have online training that we do that for. And we say, you don't have to do our certification. You could do a special certification for each team. So have fun with that. Recognize them, make them feel like they're continuing education. People like to learn. They like to get paid well, they like to get treated well, but they also love to learn new things. Most people do. And what do we say are best practices? Again, pre-shift. Should be short. An activity within the pre-shift, a standard of Forbes Travel Guide is always a great one. And then share ideas as your leadership gathers. Talk to each other, find best practice. If there's a department in the building that is doing great things, use them an example. Not that they're better than others. Just tell us how you're doing so well. Share with our team. Be inclusive in that way. So, what is great service? We talked about this at the beginning. The ability to be genuine, the ability to provide and deliver a superior experience consistently, to believe in your product, be passionate, and a commitment to excellence in everything you do. That's great service. Has that changed? Is that anything to do with pre-COVID, post-COVID, protocol, pandemic? No. These are universal, forever, timeless things that you need to do. And that's my presentation. I think now I need to go to questions. And I'm going to unshare my screen and I'm back. All right. Tech team. Okay, I see that they're doing, en unos momentos abriremos el espacio para preguntas.
Thank you very much, Helen, for your presentation. I was wondering, because at the beginning of the presentation, you said that Forbes has no restaurant representation in Mexico. So we heard that next year, 2022, we are expecting to have a first Michelin starred restaurant in Mexico. When specifically do you think Forbes it's coming to restaurant in Mexico?
Oh, you're a foodie, right? I know it. Okay. Remember I said it's because we want to do it right. Okay. We want to make sure because every cuisine is different. Portions are different. I mean, if you go to France, they're small portions. And if an inspector is not very familiar with French cuisine, they'll say, oh my goodness, the portions were so small. And they'll get points taken off when that's actually the way they cuisine. And then the same thing with Mexico. You have so many flavors and you don't have one cuisine across the country. There's like extreme cuisines from the Yucatan all the way to to Cabos and everything in between. So we need to make sure that we know the cuisine, that we have our inspectors are very well qualified in that. And we do, but we feel we're not there yet. And so because we've been expanding so much on the hotel and spa side, and we know that really well, we wanted to pause restaurant, but it's coming back. And I would say it won't be for 22, but we're hoping for 23.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. So, being a professional auditing luxury, what do you think people is going to look for besides cleanliness?
Luxury, warm invitations. They've gone through so much this last year, and we have all gone through so much. As a person, our own personal lives, they tell us everywhere we go, you're standing too close. You must wear a mask. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't. It's a no, 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 no. You must do this. Give them freedom. Give them options. Don't give them. We know the rules. There's going to be rules. But can you give them some options within those rules? Oh, you don't want to wear your mask? Well, in your room or, in this area, or there's an area that you can be relaxed and take off your mask if you're with your family. What are those options? Give them to them. Give them the options because they need them. And stop ordering them. Stop barking orders. Stop barking, sir, you must wear your mask. Sir, you must stay a distance. We're tired of that. Why not say slowly, calmly, I know these masks are so difficult to use, but in this area, you have to do that. Would you please? And if you'd like to, maybe you could sit over in this side. I don't know what your solutions are, but be ready. I think we've become police of protocols. I don't believe in Los Cabos it's that way. And I think Mexico is, by the way, like a year ahead of everybody, maybe a year and a half of the whole world. You have been able to manage the health security of the guests while still giving them an amazing experience. And that's why you're seeing the occupancy you're seeing and the rates you're seeing and the demand because of the combination of things you've been able to do. You keep the guests safe, they have a sense of comfort, but yet they are enjoying themselves. So whatever you're doing, I think it's working.
Thank you. We have a question for the people, the attendants. They say, how can we encourage shy people to participate in role playing?
Well, first of all, it's going to take a while. If you've never done it, it's going to take a while. People are shy. So maybe you, the leader, should be the first ones, right? Okay, I'm going to do role play. You start. Maybe instead of always making them be the staff, why don't you let them be the guest in your role playing? Because what you're always doing with role playing, I always see is the leader of the department or the quality or the trainer or everything, always making the housekeeper be the staff member. Well, let them be the guest and show them what you would do in role play. Switch it instead. So that way they feel, now they put themselves and it's actually great, really smart, because now they're putting themselves in the role of the guest. How did the guest feel when they came into the room and their clothes were a ball on the sofa and the shoes were everywhere? How would you feel, guys? So, I mean, role playing, be smart about it. Don't know, maybe switch the roles a little bit and the leader show by example and then get it moving along.
Thank you very much. If you don't mind, what we are going to do is to offer your contact in case somebody has any questions further. So basically, we like to thank you in the name of the Comité de Capacitación de los Cabos and the Asociación de Recursos Humanos. It was a great presentation. That was really amazing. It's a pleasure to offer this acknowledgement for you. Let me.
Oh, thank you. I'm reading the comments on the side, and they're really good questions. Some of them I want to answer. So can you please give them my email
Of
to
course.
email me the questions? Because I see about the inspection that the auditor now announces themselves. That is not true. We don't announce ourselves. We still are incognito. And what we do is after the visit, we do folio reversal. But we don't announce ourselves before the visit. It's after. I see that there's a construction question, a few other things. So please feel free to give them my email, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Hainlin, for your presentation. Well, basically, thank you everybody to be in this lovely presentation, and we expect you in the afternoon with other presentation for other interesting people. Thank you very much, and have a great morning.
Thank you. Enjoy your symposium. Lots of good learning. Bye.